What's going on, everybody? This is Derek J407 here to give you my thoughts on AEW Revolution, the latest pay-per-view from All Elite Wrestling, live from Chicago, Illinois. A show that overall was a pretty damn solid show. Top to bottom, a lot of great stuff, a lot of great matches, a lot of great stories were told, stories were developed, some blown off, some continued in very interesting ways, and had some really great moments, including the crowning of a new AEW World Champion in one Jon Moxley in the main event. A really, really cool way to end a really strong show like this. We also had probably what might go down as a lock for one of the best matches of the year. Of course, I am talking about Pac versus Orange Cassidy in a match that would rival any match that ever took place between the likes of Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, and even the great Kazuchika Okada and Hiroshi Tanahashi. One of the greatest matches of all time. And there was also this really okay match for the tag team titles between Hangman Page, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks. Although from what I saw on Twitter, some people, I think the nicest thing they would say about that match was that it was okay. A lot of split opinions on that match. We'll get to that. I have my own opinions on it, and we'll see where I lean in on the debate that sparked up from this match. Might not have been a big debate, but it was one nonetheless, and especially the impact that it had on the matches that followed it. But yeah, from top to bottom, I thought this was a pretty damn entertaining show. So let's go ahead and go right to the beginning. We had the buy-in, of course, their pre-show. We had a tag team match. It was the Dark Order, represented by Stu Grayson and Evil Uno. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. Stu Grayson and Evil Uno. My apologies to Evil Uno. Taking on SCU, Scorpio Sky, and Frankie Kazarian. They showed backstage prior to the match that it was particularly Scorpio Sky told Christopher Daniels to stay in the back, amid the speculation that he might be the higher power or whatever the hell it is for the Dark Order, So, with the idea that it's him who's the one pulling the strings for the Dark Order, they decided to, just cut their losses and keep him in the back, which might have been a mistake as the match went on. It was a fine match, nothing overly special about it. The Dark Order picked up the win, and they, after the match, began to beat down SCU until Colt Cabana made his way out to the ring. A nice little pop for the hometown favorite, Colt Cabana. Came out there, got in the ring, was doing good until the numbers game caught up to him, and he got beaten down. All of a sudden, we look over to the entranceway, and we see a figure wearing a hooded cloak, face is covered and everything. We presume that this is the Exalted One that the Dark Order has been talking about recently. And then he unveils himself to be Christopher Daniels, and he makes a beeline for the ring, dives right into the ring. Of course, with the way the arena is set up, the ramp is connected right to the ring. So he runs down the ramp, hops over the top rope, lands on the Dark Order guys, and they begin to beat them down. That's when Kazarian and Scorpio Sky and Colt Cabana, they all came back. They beat him down. Daniels, that is, hit the angel wings on one of the Dark Order members, and that was that. So this storyline continues. We'll see if the Exalted One is revealed on Dynamite this week or in the upcoming weeks, because a certain someone is going to be not let go. Their contract is up as of this Sunday, March 1st. So as I'm recording this, we are a mere minutes away from that certain someone's contract being up, and unless we hear that they have re-signed, it looks like they're out of there. So if they want to make their way to another company and come in as the Exalted One, well, that would be simply wonderful. So the main show kicked off with Dustin Rhodes versus Jake Hager. This is a match that's been built up, I should say, for a few months now. Ever since Jake Hager and the rest of the Inner Circle attacked Dustin Rhodes in the parking lot a few months back, and it was Jake Hager who slammed a car door on Dustin Rhodes' hand and broke it. So Rhodes has been chomping at the bit to get his revenge on Jake Hager. Plus, this was Jake Hager's official in-ring debut in AEW, so we finally got a one-on-one match for Jake Hager here. On his way to the ring, Hager's wife was in the crowd. He made out with her for a little bit, so that was pleasant. And then the match began. It was immediate brawling between the both guys. They fought into the crowd for a little bit. Dustin Rhodes was in full control until Hager caught him with a back suplex on the apron and knocked him down with a big clothesline on the outside. Hager was pretty much in control for the remainder of the match until Dustin made a comeback. At different points, Hager was, making kissy faces and, all kinds of loving gestures over at his wife. And at one point, Dustin was near where Hager's wife was. She was berating him and jaw-jacking with him, and Dustin took it upon himself to go in and kiss her and smear his makeup all over her face. Got a minor pop from the crowd. So we get towards the finish. Aubrey Edwards, she's the referee. I think there was some spot where Dustin almost collided with her in the corner, but he pumped the brakes at the last second. But in the meantime, her back was kind of turned, so when Dustin turned around, Hager got him with a knee right to the groin, playing off of what he did in his MMA fight a few months ago, and what he's been doing to a lot of guys in AEW recently. So knee him to the groin, got him with a standing triangle hold sleeper move, and Dustin basically passed out, and that was that. So, extremely obvious finish in Jake Hager winning. This was his first match, and you were not going to have him lose to 50-whatever-year-old Dustin Rhodes. I don't even want to think about 50-year-olds getting big wins in these big wrestling matches, because let's not open up that. Let's keep this focused on AEW as much as we can. But a fine match to open the show. They announced after the match, they cut to a commercial break, and they made an announcement that on March 25th in Newark, New Jersey, that is an episode of AEW Dynamite, that they're titling Blood and Guts. They're going to have 2 rings and 1 cage. So this is going to be AEW's version of War Games, but I guess they cannot legally call it War Games, so they are calling it the Blood and Guts moniker that Vince McMahon infamously labeled AEW as many, many months ago. He called the company a blood and guts sport, so now they're going to profit off of it, and they're having an entire episode of their TV show titled Blood and Guts. So something on that show, I guess we'll see in the weeks coming up, is going to probably build up to a match, a War Game style match, 2 teams, the whole thing. And so looking forward to that. Up next, we had Sammy Guevara taking on Darby Allin. The build-up behind this match was another Inner Circle beatdown, this time on Darby Allin, and it was Sammy who took Allin's skateboard, lodged it in his throat, and just smashed it in the ring, and basically crushed Darby's larynx and took him out of action for a while. Darby Allin returned to TV a few weeks ago and vowed revenge, and we got the match here. So, while Darby Allin was making his entrance, before the bell even rang, got in the ring, immediately dove to the outside onto Sammy Guevara, and the two began brawling all around ringside, all and the crowd just everywhere, back and forth. Darby was in control. Sammy took control, and he started to beat down Darby Allin. All of this before the bell even rung. Because by the point the bell did ring, it's like, oh yeah, the bell hasn't even rung yet. So the match hasn't even been official. But before the bell even rung, Sammy Guevara set up a table. He laid out Darby Allin on the table, got back in the ring, went up to the top turnbuckle, and came crashing down with a 630 right onto Darby Allin, crashing right through the table. It was an awesome spot. And yeah, like after this, he put Darby back in the ring, or Darby managed to get himself back into the ring, and that's when the bell rung. So then they had the match proper, and it was pretty damn good. At one point, Sammy hit a Spanish fly off the top rope. It looked like he was losing his balance there, but he managed to regain his composure and hit the move, but it was only good for a 2 count. But the finish saw Darby ended up hitting a monkey flip on Guevara, and when Guevara flipped over, basically, he kind of did like a all-over type flip that he came up face first, and his throat kind of caught the turnbuckle, so playing off the injury to Darby Allin. Darby hit this really cool reverse stunner, flip over stunner move, laid out Guevara, went up top, came down backwards with the coffin drop. One of the first times I've seen him connect with the coffin drop. Got some pretty good distance on it too. So hit him with the coffin drop and got the win. After the match, he had Guevara laid out, throat on the bottom rope, got his skateboard in hand, about to do something dastardly, but Jake Hager came out and made the save, got Guevara out of there immediately, but Darby Allin did pick up the win, and all throughout the match, Darby Allin was getting a huge pop from the crowd. He got a huge pop the night that he made his return. The dude is super over, and it is just amazing to see. He's really talented, and the whole dark gimmick that he has is really resonating with fans. I dig Darby Allin. I'll admit I wasn't completely sold on him at a high level, and I'm not saying I'd love to see him challenge for the AEW World title right now, but if they had a mid-card championship, he would be perfect to contend for that right now. But mark my words, one day this dude's going to be a huge star in this company. Okay, so up next, the AEW Tag Team Championship match. The champions Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page defending against the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. Was it around 30 minutes that this match went? I believe it was about 30 minutes that this match went, because I believe it had an hour time limit, and by the time the finish came, like right before the finish, Justin Roberts, said that 30 minutes have passed, 30 minutes remain, so it was 30 minutes and some change here. But yeah, this was a long one. Probably didn't need to go that long. Maybe could have shaved 5, maybe even 10 minutes off this match. Regardless, this was an awesome match. This was one of the best matches of the entire night. One of the best, just straight up tag team matches that I have seen in any company in a very long time. And we've been seeing a lot of great tag team matches in AEW alone, especially on Dynamite in recent months. But this match right here was just excellent. The ring work was solid. All 4 guys shined bright in this match. The story that was being told, with the dissension being teased between Hangman Page and Kenny Omega, the friendship between the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega that is still strong, that was tested in this match. And of course, the dissension that's going on between Hangman Page and the Young Bucks and the Elite in general, all of that was put on full display in this match, and it made for a really entertaining match. I can't even go through all the damn spots in this one. It's crazy. One of the first big OMG moments of the match, I guess, was early on. Matt extended his hand for a handshake to Hangman Page, and Hangman Page spat right in his face. And from there, that kind of set things in motion for how the rest of the match was going to go down. Hangman Page and Omega, they worked over Matt's lower back. Of course, he has a history of a back injury, so they worked over that. But Matt managed to scrounge up enough muscle and adrenaline to hit a double Northern Lights suplex on both men. There was one point that Omega tossed Matt up in the air. Hangman caught him and connected with a very ugly looking German suplex. It looked like Matt landed head first onto the mat, but it was still pretty damn effective. It's Young Bucks, so you know there was going to be some super kicks, and Kenny Omega, so you know there's going to be some V triggers, so we got all of that. At one point, Omega was up top. He had Nick up on his shoulders. It looked like he was going for the one-winged angel off the top turnbuckle, but Nick managed to turn it into a Hurricane Rana and sent Omega just crashing off the top. Page came in with the buckshot lariat, took out Nick, and then Matt took out Page on the rampway by hitting a bunch of Northern Lights suplexes on him, just one after the other, repetition. So that incapacitated Page for a while. Matt and Nick turned their attention to Kenny Omega. They ended up hitting an Indie Taker on the ramp on Hangman Page. So back in the ring, they go after Kenny Omega, 2-on-1. They beat him down. They hit him with the Golden Trigger, which was just a V trigger from both Matt and Nick, and of course was a move done by Omega and Kota Ibushi in New Japan. So they hit him with that. They go for the pin. Omega kicks out at 1, very defiantly, all revved up, ready to go. He fights them off, but they are still too much for him. It's 2-on-1, so he's down. They're going for an Indie Taker on Omega. So Matt is holding him in the ring. Nick is on the apron. He's going for it, but then Hangman comes in out of nowhere, makes the save, picks up Nick from the apron, and power bombs him through a table. We get a buckshot V-trigger combo on, I believe it was Matt, but it was only good for a 2 count. The fans are going crazy at this point, but in the end, it was one last buckshot lariat from Hangman on Matt Jackson that put them away, got the 1-2-3. Page and Omega retain the tag team titles, and that puts an end to what was an incredible match between these two teams. That whole run through doesn't even really do it justice of just how great this match was. Like, if you did not watch this, please go back and watch this match. This was amazing. Many spots that I probably left out that I probably just didn't have time to write down because I was just amazed at what I was seeing. There may have been 1 or 2, 3, 5, maybe 6 kickouts that were a little ridiculous. Like I said, it probably did go on a little too long because some of the kickouts did get a little ridiculous after a while. Like the buckshot V-trigger combo, probably should have ended it there since they were going to end it with the lariat anyway. So it probably would have been better to end it there. But, yeah, and they threw everything at each other. Everybody hit everything. But, yeah, and it did zap the energy from the crowd, which was felt in the next match and possibly the match even after that. But, yeah, this was great stuff. Overall, I can't really complain too much about it. Would I have probably shaved a few minutes off and taken out maybe a few moves to avoid too many near falls and kickouts? Yes, but as is, it was still an incredible match. After the match, it was basically kiss and make up time. The Young Bucks, they helped up Kenny Omega. He shook their hands, gave them hugs. It looked like Hangman Page, who has been really distant from the Bucks and the Elite recently, it looked like he might consider, joining in on the festivities with them, but he distanced himself again, got out of the ring. He was on the rampway. So Kenny finished up, hugging with the Bucks and all that. Kenny had his back turned to Page. Page was holding his championship belt, and he set the belt down, and he was facing Kenny, and he he was clutching the ropes, looking as if he was getting ready to hit that buckshot lariat. He was going to flip over into the ring and hit the buckshot lariat on Kenny, but he did not. Kenny turned around, and Hangman Page was just telling him to come on, let's go. He held the ropes down open for him, and they hugged, and they left together as champions. A very small, subtle tease at a Page heel turn there. They even had the commentators acknowledge it. I believe it was Excalibur and Tony Schiavone. They both kind of mentioned, what is about to happen here? What's going on? And I'm not sure what I saw. And I think it was like Excalibur said something like, I think I saw the same thing you did. But then, Hangman and Omega, they hugged and everything seemed okay. But very subtle tease there. So it's gonna happen. And when it does happen, and we get Kenny Omega and Hangman Page in a one-on-one match, it's gonna be pretty damn cool. It is amazing to me how much more over Hangman Page is now compared to when he challenged Chris Jericho in the main event of All Out for the AEW Championship last year. A match where, some people did want to go with Page to win the title, but it's like, no, you gotta go with Jericho in this position. They did, and he's been lighting the world on fire since becoming the AEW champion. Page just wasn't ready for it at that moment. Right now, with the matches that he's been having since becoming the tag team champion, his character now, the basically alcoholic that he is, because right afterwards he did get a beer from the crowd. So I don't know if he got a pitcher. I wasn't paying attention, but still an alcoholic. But dude's just firing on all cylinders. So right now, this version of Hangman Page, I could absolutely take seriously and willingly accept as the AEW World Champion. But this is slowly setting up something between himself and Kenny Omega, and I'm all for it. Up next was the unfortunately positioned AEW Women's Championship match. Chris Statlander challenging the new champion Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose just won the title, 2-3 weeks ago, so you knew she was not going to lose it here, and that's what happened. Nyla Rose retained the championship. She got the win over Statlander in a match that the fans just really couldn't get behind. The previous match kind of zapped their energy. They did everything under the sun in that match, so there was really nothing that the women could do here. They tried, but along with the other match just draining the crowd, these women, they put in the work, but what they were doing really wasn't overly exciting. There wasn't a whole lot of great stuff that happened. There was one cool thing where Statlander was hung up on the top rope. Nyla Rose went up top, was going for that diving knee to drive her off the rope, but Statlander managed to walk on her hands, got in the middle of the ring, laid down, looked up at Nyla, who was still up top, and kind of, blew her a kiss. Nyla came down. Statlander got her with a sidekick, hit her with a DDT, but it was only good for a 2 count. But the finish saw both women up on the top rope. Statlander was going for a Hurricane Rana. She tried to go for it once, and I believe she hit it, but it was only good for a 2 count. But so she went to that well one more time, and she tried to hit it, but Nyla managed to pull her up, had a rough go pulling her up, but still pulled her up nonetheless. Hit her with an avalanche beast bomb and got the win. So Nyla Rose, still the AEW Women's Champion. Not the best outing for the women in this match. Nice try, good effort, but didn't really connect there. Up next, one of the best built-up matches heading into this entire show, and one of the best built-up feuds in a very long time. Cody Rhodes taking on MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. What can I really say about this match? The match itself was definitely better than the performance from Downstate. The band Downstate performed Cody Rhodes' entrance music, so did a live entrance performance for his song. Was not great. They did not sound great live. You can't knock it out of the park every single time, but it was what it was. So we got the match right out the gate. MJF stalls, sliding in and out of the ring, trying to drain that adrenaline that Cody has going into this match, just ready to rip this guy's limb, just ready to rip his head off, limb from limb, all that kind of stuff. But so he's toying with him. But Cody eventually managed to get him down, and the two started to brawl a little bit, and Cody was beating him down. They were on the outside. Cody is on the rampway, and he runs all the way backstage. So he runs up the ramp, runs out of sight, and then he comes out the curtain, runs full speed ahead at MJF, and just clotheslines him right back into the ring. Both men tumble over. That was a really cool spot. Of course, going into this match, Cody came off of that cage match with Wardlow, where the finish saw him hitting a moonsault off the cage down onto Wardlow. In landing on that moonsault, he managed to injure his toe. I think he fractured it or something like that. So that was a target for MJF in this match. And at one point, he unlaced Cody's boot, did MJF. He unlaced the boot, pulled out his bare toe, and bit on Cody's injured toe, which prompted a "you sick fuck" chant from the crowd. Well deserved. Very well deserved. Salt of the earth indeed. And then somewhere along the way, Cody took back control, and somewhere, I still don't know when or where or how it happened, MJF got busted open, and he got busted open big time. Dude had the crimson mask going. He was bleeding a gusher. During this time, Brandy Rhodes came off of the apron going for a crossbody on Wardlow, but Wardlow managed to catch her. He held her in his grasp. Arn Anderson is behind Wardlow, and on the other side, facing him, was Cody. Cody pleading with Wardlow to put her down. He eventually did, but Cody went for a bicycle pump kick on Wardlow, but Wardlow managed to move out of the way. But Cody still connected with it, but he accidentally hit his coach, the coach of Team Nightmare or whatever they are, Arn Anderson. So Arn Anderson got laid out. They were playing this up like a really big deal, going back to his history of neck injuries and all that. A bunch of officials and people like that came out to check on him. Meanwhile, back in the ring, Cody gets back in there, and MJF low blows him from behind and rolls him up. It looked like it was going to be the finish, but it was only good for a 2 count. MJF got Cody's weight belt and threatened to use it on him, but the ref took it away from him. Meanwhile, through all this commotion and MJF arguing with the ref, Cody managed to low blow MJF, and then he got the weight belt and started to use it on MJF. The ref told him to get rid of it, but Cody begged for just one more time to use it. The ref allowed it, and Cody used it. So, Cody using that executive director, whatever position that he has, that power over the referee here, clearly. So MJF is down. Cody's standing tall above him. MJF is pleading with Cody. He's cradling and tugging on his knees. He's on his knees. He gets up. He hugs Cody. He's just begging and pleading for his life here. And he pulls back and spits right in Cody's face. So that was beautiful. Cody hits him with a crossroads. Doesn't go for the cover. Gets him up again. Hits him with another crossroads. This is still not good enough for Cody. He is encouraged to hit one more third and final one. And I'm thinking he's going to hit this third one. He's going to beat MJF, and that's going to be the end of this feud. It's the Shawn Spears feud all over again. It's just a one and done. It's over. But no. When going for the third one, MJF blocked it with a kick, and then he managed to punch Cody in the face. But you notice MJF dug into his trunks and then hauled back and punched Cody because he had that Dynamite Diamond ring that he won all those months back. Knocked out Cody with it, fell into a cover on him and got the 1-2-3. The air was sucked right out of the arena. The fans could not believe MJF got the win. Brandy was looking just flabbergasted. Arn Anderson, who came back too, he was looking dazed and confused. But yeah, MJF gets the win over Cody here. Cody had the match won. He had it won. He had his revenge ready to go. But MJF, the bastard, the asshole prick that he is, managed to cheat his way into a victory. So this is something for MJF to now brag about and can potentially lead to a rematch at some point down the line. Cody did not need to win this match. He gained not really anything from winning this match other than finishing the feud, but this feud definitely should not have ended on this show, and rightfully so, it did not. Gave MJF the big win. It wasn't clean. It doesn't need to be clean. He's a douchebag chicken shit heel. He does not need to win clean in a match like this. But now he did win, so he can just brag about it. And Cody can try to egg him on and beg him for a rematch, or just pressure him into giving him a rematch. Probably some kind of stipulation down the line where Cody can get the big win then. But for now, MJF benefits from the win. Much needed win for him. And this feud can now continue. So I'm all for it. Up next was the match I think everyone and their grandmother was looking forward to the most on this show. This match that should have been the main event of this show. This is a match that could main event WrestleMania. With this crowd, it easily could have. That being Pac versus Orange Cassidy. The chants that were chanted by this crowd included "Holy shit," "This is awesome," and "Fight forever." Orange Cassidy is an anomaly. It is amazing how over he is with these AEW crowds. The connection that he has with this crowd is amazing. When he's doing the bare minimum shit that he does, the low light kicks the devastating chaotic kicks that he hits on Pac here, and Pac hit his own too, so they had a little bit back and forth there. But he puts his hands in his pockets, his drop kicks, and does all this cool stuff. It was great. Of course, Pac couldn't take more of his shit for too long, so he ended up dominating for a while. He went up top for the Black Arrow, but Cassidy managed to roll out of the ring, and this sight continued for a little while. At one point, when Cassidy was going to roll out of the ring, Pac came over outside the ring, kind of looked at him and stopped him, and I don't know if Cassidy smiled on purpose or if he was corpsing, but he looked at Pac, smiled, smirked, and rolled right back the other way towards the other side of the ring. The crowd was going crazy for this kind of shit. Cassidy, though, to the shock of everyone, ended up actually trying and put effort into this match. He hit a tope suicida, hit a huge crossbody, got a tornado DDT, only good for not a 2 count, but like a 1.5 count. Pac had him up top, crotched Cassidy on the top turnbuckle. Both men were up, going for a some kind of maneuver. Pac was, but Cassidy managed to hit him with a tornado DDT coming off the top rope. He hit a diving DDT, was going for the cover, but then Pac rolled out to the outside. At this point, the Lucha Bros ran out. They attacked the Best Friends. The Best Friends managed to fight them off, but all this commotion was enough to take the attention of Orange Cassidy away from Pac, who turned him around, locked him in the brutalizer, and Cassidy had no choice but to tap out, and Pac got the win, which you knew was going to happen. You knew it was definitely going to happen after Pac lost that Iron Man match to Kenny Omega the previous week on Dynamite, but this was a easy match to predict, but it was really entertaining. What made it so much more fun for me was just knowing the amount of hate that is directed at Orange Cassidy. So you knew there were people watching this match just absolutely livid at not only all the stuff that Orange Cassidy was doing, but the fact that the fans were going shit face crazy for it the entire time. It was amazing. So, really fun work from these guys here. And finally, the main event for the AEW World Championship, Le Champion, Chris Jericho defending against Jon Moxley. One of the coolest things I never knew I wanted until I got it was a church choir singing Judas. I don't know if it was the choir singing it or the fans in the arena singing it along with them as they were singing it. I don't know what elements made this as awesome and epic as it felt and turned out to be. I don't know, but it was. And that was a really cool entrance for him. Blew that shit from downstate clean out of the water. So we get the introductions, we get the match. Jericho is out there with Santana and Ortiz, the only Inner Circle members who had not shown their faces all night. So they were out there ringside with Jericho, and the match began, and it was a brawl from the word go. They immediately started trading punches. They fought to the outside, fought into the crowd. Jericho threw water in Moxley's face. Back and forth between these guys here. At one point, Moxley was biting on Jericho's stitches because, of course, he headbutted Jericho the previous week on Dynamite during their weigh-in segment and busted Jericho open hard way. So Moxley was kind of biting on those stitches, but Jericho managed to plunge or lunge, whatever, just throw Moxley headfirst into the steel ring post, and that busted Moxley open right above his injured eye, or at least the eye that we were believed to think was injured. It was covered up with the eye patch, so he was busted open pretty badly, and he even got powerbombed through the table at ringside that had the ring bell on it. So that was pretty cool. Jericho dominated majority of the match from that point. Santana and Ortiz were interfering behind the ref's back every now and then, but eventually Moxley made a comeback, locked Jericho and his own version of the walls of Jericho, locked him in the Boston Crab. Jericho managed to get out of it. Either that or Moxley ended up getting distracted by Jake Hager, who ran out and tried to distract him. But Jericho managed to hit a code breaker, but it was only good for a 2 count. Hager was still out there. He was still providing interference and managed to punch Moxley in the injured eye at one point. The referee, Aubrey Edwards, managed to see this, and she kicked Jake Hager, Santana, and Ortiz all out of ringside. And while getting them out of there, she got out of the ring. She's telling them to go to the back. We see Sammy Guevara come in out of nowhere and clobber Moxley right in the face with the championship belt. Both men are down. Jericho goes for the cover, and Moxley kicks out at 1. I'm sorry, 2. It was a 2 count. He did not kick out at 1. It was only a 2 count. Jericho started to gouge out the good eye of Moxley and was beating him down, but Moxley was too fired up. He got that second win, a second rebirth, so to speak. Started to fight back. He hit a pretty sloppy looking paradigm shift, but it was one out of nowhere. It was basically a DDT out of nowhere. Luckily, this was not the finish because they wanted to make it a little more dramatic. So at this point, Moxley removed his eye patch. He removed the eye patch. He hits one more paradigm shift, and that's it. My question, if Moxley could see throughout the entire match, why didn't he take off the eye patch earlier than he did? Why did he wait until the finish to then take off the eye patch? Wouldn't it have made more sense to throw off Jericho earlier in the match to take it off then instead of waiting until the end? Regardless, I am not one to think about Moxley's methods, but this was enough to put away Jericho, and Moxley got the win. Jon Moxley is the new AEW World Champion. Huge celebration, very emotional. After the match, he got on the microphone, talked about how winning this championship wasn't just for him, it was for all the fans. You know, AEW promised to bring pro wrestling back and give it to the fans and all that kind of stuff, and that's what they did. He talked about wanting to get some whiskey, so No more bubbly, which is sad, but oh well. The guys in the back, they started to cut him off by playing his music. Moxley just went like, "What the fuck? I'm not done. You know, I'm still going." So he said a few more things, and then that was it. So yeah, cool stuff. Jon Moxley is the new AEW World Champion. He is the new Le Champion. I don't think he can pull that off as well as Jericho did. But Jericho was awesome in the role as World Champion. He was the first official AEW World Champion. He was the champion since August. He was the champion when they first premiered on TNT, and he has been the World Champion basically on every single episode of Dynamite since the beginning. And he has been knocking it out of the park every step of the way. But I think the time came for a change and a crowning of a new champion. And I think Jon Moxley was the right guy to win the title outside of somebody like Kenny Omega or Cody or something like that. But Moxley was the good choice. And just think about the last year this guy had. A year ago, this dude is still in WWE, completely unhappy with his position, losing his love for pro wrestling. He finally escapes the clutches of WWE a few months later in May. He goes on his big tour all around the world, goes to New Japan, wins the U.S. Championship, signs with AEW, debuts, has been basically undefeated all throughout his tenure, and now he stands before all of us as the current IWGP US Champion in New Japan, and now the AEW World Champion over here in the States. It's one hell of a story for Jon Moxley there. So, great finish to a great main event to an overall great show. I'd have to give it 8.5 out of 10. So, yeah, great stuff. That's about it for me. I did not want to talk about the Super Showdown shit with Goldberg beating The Fiend and all that stuff with WWE heading into WrestleMania. Goldberg, Roman Reigns, The Fiend, and John Cena. Let's just keep this WWE free. I will say, to put it mildly, I would not have done that. I will put it mildly and say that. But, yeah, let's not get into that. This is happy. Let's just say that this show, this Revolution show, was definitely a palate cleanser and was washed the just gunk of Super Showdown out of my mouth, and hopefully a lot of your mouths too. Doesn't make me forget it, but it does make me put it aside for one night and remind myself there is still good wrestling out there that I can enjoy and get into that is not Goldberg related. But yeah, that's about it for me. I'm done. I'm tapped out. So good night, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever, whenever you're listening to this. So check you guys later.